Hello, this is Mariana from AWS Educate. Thank you for joining the Supporting the Rapid Transition to Remote Learning webinar series from Amazon Web Services. Educators all over the world are rapidly transitioning to remote learning, some for the first time, and we wanted to do something to help ease the transition. This webinar series was created for educators by educators who have expertise in remote learning and can share their insight with you. The series runs through May 1st, so check back on the website each Monday to view new webinar topics. You will be muted during this webinar, but we want to hear from you, so please put your questions into the questions pane of the GoToWebinar control panel. We will answer throughout the presentation and also have time set aside at the end to answer questions. Note that this webinar is being recorded and you will receive a link to both the recording and the certificate of attendance following the webinar. With that, I'd like to introduce Karina Momary from Stanford Online High School to discuss building community and fostering a sense of belonging during online learning.
Thank you, Mariana. I'm very excited to be here with you all today to discuss community and sense of belonging in an online education setting. Today, we'll talk about how to maintain and build community, various student life activities and classroom activities that contribute to the feeling of belonging and community, and then in an aspect of student life that we did at Stanford Online High School as an alternate spring break that we called Staycation 2020. So a little bit about me. I am the Director of Student Life and Community at Stanford Online High School. Stanford Online High School is a synchronous online school for grades 7 through 12. It is in its 14th year, and we have about 820 students who attend the school. My role at the school is to develop in-person and online community building activities. One thing that we really strive to do is focus on the importance of community in that online setting. Part of the Student Life Office goal is to make sure that our students don't feel like they ever missed out on something because they went to an online school. I'm also completing my dissertation on sense of belonging and community in an online school, and happy to share a little bit about what I found in my dissertation and some of that research today with you here in this talk. So first, looking at maintaining and building community, I think that it's really important to first assess what are the goals. What are we looking to do? How can we build and maintain feelings of belonging, connections within our school community? So we spend a lot of time at the beginning of the school year trying to build community. Many of you are in situations that the school year started in person, and those students might already have those connections, but you're looking to provide opportunities for them to maintain those connections in an online environment. So we'll talk a little bit about different aspects of maintaining and building community in this next section. So first, looking at sense of belonging and community, and really just starting with some beginning definitions to make sure that everyone's on the same page. So looking at these, really looking at feeling connected to people we are physically apart from, and that's often part of community building, and it happens quite often. We all feel a sense of connection to a particular sports team, but we might not know all of the fans. We might not have met that particular sports team, or we all feel a connection to our country, and we might not have met everyone within the country, but we still have that pride of being part of that community. And so, really looking at communities in very broad sense helps us re-examine what it means for our school community. And so we often gather together for shared experiences and common interests within our community in small groups or in large groups. And that's something to think about within the school community is, are you looking at the whole school coming together in an online setting to build that connection? Are you trying to maintain those maybe smaller groups? For the definition of sense of belonging, really looking at the level students feel personally accepted, respected, included, and supported by others within the school. Particularly, the research focuses on the impact that adults within the school can have to make the students feel connections. And really looking at it's not necessarily the quantity of interactions, but the most important focus is that quality of interactions. And that really, we'll touch on that a little bit later about getting the whole school together in an online setting has a different feeling than getting those small groups together where there's more of an interactive engagement rather than speaking to 800 people. And so really looking at, what is the difference between being in an online school setting and being in an in-person school setting for many schools that have made that transition, but also even students starting a new online school. And it's different skill set. So do students have the ability to meaningfully connect with classmates and teachers? Can the school provide opportunities and resources for these informal connections that in some ways mirror those in-person opportunities? And can students maintain those relationships that they formed in person and continue to build new connections in this online environment? And so every school looks a little bit different with the types of in-person opportunities that you might have. But for many schools, you're in that transition and still trying to bring the students together so that they do feel that connection. And so looking at, do they know how to maintain those relationships? Is the school providing those opportunities that they can maintain those relationships? One of the challenges when you're online is that you, as a student, aren't walking down the hallway and seeing the different clubs meeting in different classrooms or seeing the different groups gathering together at the lunch table. And so it's a completely different skill set to be able to find those engagements online and see, where are the clubs meeting? What are my friends doing? If they don't already have an easy way to connect with them. And so it's a different, it's an opportunity for the school to step in and help the students to connect with each other in these informal opportunities that really do help the students feel like they're part of the school community. And so I want to talk about some of the actual activities that put those into practice. I know that, we could talk about community building ideas and theories all day, but for many of you, you're looking for what can I do in the next couple months as we finish the rest of the school year online, but want to bring our students together and hope, for many teachers, they're hoping that they might not have to be in an online setting again, and this is just a short-term issue. And so for us, it is our everyday, and we try to offer these activities for students, but recognizing that many of you here are likely looking for some short-term options that you can help the students feel connected during this temporary period of remote learning. And so we'll cover 3 of some of the student life activities that we have implemented at Stanford Online High School, and those are assemblies, clubs, and circles. So first, our assemblies. These are our large groups of students. This is where we do some Spirit Week style events. The photo is actually a group of our students with our school mascot Pixel. Since we're an online school, our mascot is a pixel that has arms, legs, and a smiley face. And we had plush pixels created, and you can see our students in their Stanford Online High School gear, and they're showing their plush pixels in the camera as part of our Pixel Parade during Spirit Week. So that gave everyone a shared experience, a shared opportunity, and allowed for engagement in that big group setting. What's really challenging is the big group setting would function similar to this, where there's 1 or 2 people talking, and then you have the rest of the school in a more passive, observing way. And that might not do what you're looking towards in making the students feel engaged and having the ability to connect with each other. And so what we really focus on in these large group settings is also having the text chat very lively. We want the students to be engaging with each other in the text chat as the presentation is going on. And so that allows them to feel connected to the other people in the group. And so we will start and set that tone, and it's part of the culture of the school now in assemblies, but we will set that tone at the beginning. We have teachers and student life coordinators asking questions in the text chat. Where is everyone logging in from? What did you eat for breakfast? How's the weather today? Because we have students all over the world. We ask, what time is it where you are? But that text chat really helps students feel more engaged in what's going on. We also have a variety of guest speakers, and I think the guest speakers have been, particularly this year, a big hit. It's a lot easier to have a guest speaker come to the school in an online environment because the guest speaker doesn't have to leave their home generally, but in this current time, it's particularly important as guest speakers aren't traveling the country. And so we actually just had a wonderful guest speaker last week who came and talked about his experience attending Harvard as a transgender swimmer, and just really spoke to our students. And that was put on by various clubs within the school, including the GSA. And that really resonated with our students. We had a wide audience that came. And so you can find different guest speakers that really speak to the interests of the students, that help them gather together and have that shared experience and have that Q&A. And it's something that might get them to log in. So part of the challenge in an online environment is that there are a lot of other distractions. We're at a brick and mortar school. You can tell everyone it is assembly time and you shuffle them all into the gym. At an online school, they have competing activities, competing interests at home. And so really you have maybe smaller groups attending that are more interested in that particular topic. But that really allows them to be fully engaged in that as well. In addition, we also have, we call them funtivities, different opportunities for students to gather together. We play Mad Libs. We have done a lip sync competition. We've tried karaoke. And then we have student presentations. So clubs have presented on what they're working on. And so the club leader and the club members present, and then they have all their friends come as well to support them. And that gets the group of students together. And that's really exciting as well. We try to have these assemblies be student run as much as possible, really making sure that it meets the needs and interests of the students. And so they might work with our student life coordinator, they might work with me just to make sure they have all their plans in place. But we've found that student run events within the school really go a long way in helping to build community. And we have students that are looking for, in addition to our student government students, but other students that are looking for those leadership opportunities and want to host an event for their peers. That's pretty, low impact for the school. We're happy to open up an online room for this to happen, but the students really want to be able to run those activities themselves. And then we just have an adult there who's helping with the technology and just there to monitor and serve as the adult in the room. And so I mentioned a little bit our student government and leaders. So our student government meets regularly online. They meet every Friday morning, and they've been hosting some really great events this year. One of them is Instructor Spotlight. This is incredibly popular. We have 5 instructors that the students choose, and then the instructor comes and they ask the instructor a lot of questions. What would you be doing on your what do you do on your spare time? What would you be doing if you weren't here? What's the last book you read? And the students really appreciate that opportunity to hang out with their instructors and see kind of what their life is like outside of being a teacher at the school. And so we have 4 or 5 of those activities every year, and they're very widely attended, particularly if it's an instructor that most students have, just given what they teach and the structure of the school. That really gets a lot of people at the event and then gets them engaging and commenting in the text chat and asking questions of the teacher. Another activity is we do movie viewing. We have used Netflix Party, and that's worked well. There used to be other programs similar to that that you could stream all sorts of different movies and websites, and so we have been doing movie viewings, and that allows for text chat while you're watching the video, and so students can be talking, oh, that was my favorite part, oh, I used to have that alarm clock the main character has, and they're talking about the movie as they're watching it, which is great. One thing that is a tradition at the school are our e-kudos, and so the students use a Google form to submit well wishes or thanks or general kudos, congratulations to other students. And we do that twice a year, and it comes in as an Excel document and we can easily mail merge it, but they can send a message that comes from the school mascot to the recipient. And so they send a message, Dear Tanner, thanks for always helping me with my homework and helping during this online transition, from Karina. And then the students will do a mail merge or a different program in that way. And the students Tanner would get that email with a picture of the school mascot with that e-kudos on the bottom. And that really helps build those connections. And they actually make it a competition in student government who can have, which grade level sends the most e-kudos. So we often have students sending one to every person in their grade. Hey, I had a class with you. I don't really know you, but you always answered the questions in class, and that was really impressive. And so it's another way to start building those connections or maintaining those connections. We're also starting an Olympics for this year, and that was proposed by our student government leaders, and they are going to play minute to win it games on camera, and then participate in kind of this final Olympic ceremony. And we're getting our graphic designer to decorate our mascot as if they were competing in the Olympics, and really going all out in these digital, video minute to win it games. And so the stacking of the cups, or things that people might have at home that they wouldn't need a lot of supplies, or there's some minute to win it games that you can do without any supplies. And so looking at and just trying to get people together and competing together in a fun way. And we, of course, have Spirit Week in the same way that, brick and mortar schools do, but we have them dress up and go to class in their outfits. So let's say but we do a lot of shoulder up dress up. So we have crazy hat day, we have silly glasses day. And so we, have them dress from their shoulders up. We try to do twin day sometimes as well. And then you have to take a screenshot of yourself in class in that outfit and send that to us. Another great Spirit Week event that we do is we send the students pick a secret image. This year it was the white cat from the meme that the Real Housewives are pointing at the white cat and the cat's crying. And so that cat, the student government asked teachers to hide in their slides for the week. And so it was wonderful how creative the teachers got in hiding that cat. Our Latin instructors hid the cat in this ancient Greek building that they were studying, and very few students caught it. And so it allows the instructors to be involved in that Spirit Week fun as well. One year we had it be a llama, and one of the teachers had a link that said, click here for your homework, and then it was a llama when they clicked. And so, different ways for teachers to get involved in these types of activities too, and that really helps the students be more inclined to participate as well. Next is our clubs and circles. So we offer, traditional clubs. They meet through school platforms, and instructor is present. They might have a project. We have Model UN. We have robotics. We have all sorts of different clubs like debate that meet together, work towards a project, might even attend competitions. We have a really great ethics bowl team. They meet together. They talk about the situations online, and then they'll have kind of mock ethics bowl rounds online. They also host larger community events, which I mentioned earlier, the guest speaker hosted by the GSA. We've had several different community events that are hosted by a particular club. They might put on a presentation, they might host a game. We had a multicultural fair hosted by the Minority Student Alliance, and all of those things we do online on that bigger assembly style. But then we also offer circles, recognizing that in an online setting, it's hard to find other people, particularly at the start of the year, that have similar interests as you. And so these are groups of students with similar interests, but these might be really informal. So we have a sneakers lovers circle. We have a Bob Ross appreciation circle. We have a cooking circle. And so they have a chat, or they get together on other platforms. And what we do is we try to help connect them, and then they can continue the conversation on their own. And it's usually casual conversation. So I'm part of the cooking group. I am a terrible cook. So I tend to share a lot of cooking fails with the students. And I bought a terrible Alfredo sauce from Target, and I told the kids how terrible it was and that I burnt it, and that's probably what made it terrible. And the kids were laughing, and then they were sharing what they made for lunch. So just a way to host, very casual conversations. And that's really part of what we try to do, is balance those informal opportunities with the formal opportunities, recognizing that the informal opportunities are a little bit harder in an online environment to organically happen. And so the school has to do some organization and connections to make that happen. And so in addition to student life activities, our teachers do a lot of activities in the classroom to help build that sense of belonging and help maintain that sense of belonging. And so we'll talk about these four next. So first is check-ins and breakout rooms. We found that as students really enjoy just coming to class and chit-chatting at the beginning, opening the classroom early if the instructor is able to, asking how the students are doing, having that check-in. And we do a couple different ones. A lot of you are probably familiar with roses and thorns, share the good part, share the bad part. Yay for today is my new favorite. I've been trying to avoid discussing the thorns just in my small groups. And so really trying to focus on everyone's yay for today. The students laugh at me every time I say yay for today, but they're all laughing together at me. And so I'm okay with that too. And then another one that we do is what's the weather? And so you might ask someone, hey, you know, what's the weather like? And it's not what's the weather outside, but it's what's your emotional weather or social weather or state of being. And so if you're feeling happy, you might be, you know, sunny, not a cloud in the sky. If you're you know, it's a cloudy day, but at least it's not raining. Or if you're having a really tough day, you know, there's thunderstorms and lots of rain. And it just gives kind of students the ability to share a little bit more about what's going on, but without having to share any specifics. And so really have had some groups respond well to what's the weather when we talk about just how they're doing. And then also encouraging breakout rooms for in-class discussion or some sort of small groups, depending on the platform you use, for class discussions. When I talk to students about their sense of belonging and how they build connections with peers, most of them referenced that they really appreciated the opportunity to engage in small groups with their peers within their class setting. So the academics are that common thread that brings them together. You might give them a prompt, but you might let the prompt, you know, you might have a prompt for your discussion topic, but then you might leave them in the breakout rooms for just a couple minutes just so they can have that check-in time with people. And so I know that, you know, I have limited in-person human contact right now outside of the people in my home. And so when I'm in these small groups, it's kind of nice to be like, you know, talking to someone else. What are you doing? How's it going? And so adding just a little bit of extra time in that just to help them build those connections. And then also looking just for informal opportunities again in the classroom. So breakout rooms might have that, you know, those check-ins, that yay for today, but just kind of looking at, you know, okay, we're all here in class. We will cover the coursework, but is there any wiggle room for some quick, you know, recognitions that you are a human in addition to being a student and that there's a lot going on right now. So let's have that check-in. And I know that a lot of schools are doing this already, but hopefully some of these strategies might help you. If you're tired of just asking how they're doing, you can try yay for today. And then we have office hours. So our teachers host office hours for at least a couple hours a week. It's just, again, an opportunity for informal connections, but also additional assistance if they needed. If the students were struggling with a concept in class, it's harder in an online environment if you don't have a set office hour time to really have students have that opportunity to check in or get further clarification. And one of our instructors does something that's really great. And at the beginning of the year, he has the students make office hour appointments in small groups. So that gets the jitters out or the stigma out of having to go to office hours, because it is part of your assignment. It's one of your homework assignments that you sign up for a time that works for you for just a couple minutes. And that lets you meet other people in your class. And then it also lets you connect with the instructor. So just another opportunity for some of those connections as well. And then, you know, we have students that go to the office hours of their old teachers just because they want to say hi or see how they're doing or see how their new puppy is doing. And so they can kind of bounce around, whereas, you know, they'd be the same as walking by the classroom after school to see if that teacher's still in and saying hi, trying to have some sort of opportunity to mirror that. And so really looking at, you know, how do our teachers and students build or maintain connections, and then how can we translate some or any of that into this online setting. And so office hours has really been beneficial for our students in order to help with that. And then we have homeroom. And so we have small groups with one instructor. It's usually someone who's not their teacher. They're grouped by grade level, and it's scheduled throughout the day to minimize time zone issues. And I know a lot of schools have, advisory programs or homeroom programs, and we have, staff and instructor serve as leads, but really the activities that we're doing in homeroom really help to build those connections. So they're in small groups. They're people they may know or not know in their grade. And so Student Life creates the slides and distributes them to the teachers, but the teachers can always personalize them. And part of what we do in homeroom is it has announcements. So the student leaders can put announcements in homeroom. And then it also has, different types of icebreakers or puzzles or articles. Let's read this article and talk about it. Or, let's create a homeroom flag together using the drawing features online, but some sort of collaborative, high touch opportunity for students to engage with each other and engage with an instructor who's not their teacher. This isn't a graded class. So it really takes on that, casual discussions, topics, but it is an opportunity for us to, focus on social emotional learning skills. It is an opportunity for us to distribute any information about upcoming school events or important details. And then students can also pick topic specific homeroom. So I lead a leadership homeroom, and we look at, we have students that are really interested in improving their leadership skills in that homeroom. And we look at different leadership theories, and then we pick different leaders that we see today or in history, and we're talking about those leaders. And so it's really exciting because it's a topic the students are interested in, and it's such a unique topic that they might not be getting that in some of their other classes. And they come every week and they're really engaged and happy to discuss this topic that fits within their interests or their own personal development. And then we have staycation. So being an online school, we still have had to make adjustments in the recent times, just given that a lot of our students don't have that outside community event. So while the school has continued to function in the same way, many of our students had outside community events that happened in person that were then canceled. And so we wanted to find opportunities for collaboration, fun, conversation between our students and our instructors and students. And so we came up with staycation. We normally have, in-person spring break events, and we had a college tour scheduled. And so we had to cancel those. And we really asked the teachers, hey, we have students that are sad that school is going to be closed for a week. Would you mind, leading a 20-minute to 1 hour activity? And it could be, anything. And we called it Staycation 2020. And we asked them to just be creative, low preparation, just an opportunity to hang out with the students. And so you can see kind of my activity every day. We did Spill the Tea with Miss Momery and Mr. Strong, and we just had an open forum for 30 minutes. Catch us up on your life, talk about us. We or talk with us. We had a background challenge on Zoom. We allowed a space for students to connect with each other and just had this open space. And it was really fun. We had a lot of students who were coming every day just for that interaction. We had siblings coming every day because they were tired of talking to each other. They wanted to talk to other people. We had like a show and tell. People were talking about what they were doing. And so that was really great in hours. And then you can see another one of our instructors used some of the art museum links that that museums have put together to kind of share the art. They went on a virtual art tour. And here's some of the activities we had. Students did yoga together. They pulled campfire stories. We had a mindfulness and meditation circle. They played math puzzle games, a pet show and tell. One that was incredibly popular, hosted by one of the English teachers, was Insult Your Teacher Shakespeare style. And we had different online readings. We talked about paid virtual vacations, and it was wonderful because the teachers picked something that they wanted to do. So for example, running with Rebecca, one of our teachers, Rebecca, she goes running every day. And so they met online. They talked about what their goal was in today's run, how often they run, connections that way. Then they all went out on their run and made a time to come back and share, what they saw, what their experience was, just to try and encourage some physical activity during this time, but also to have that shared opportunity, shared experience. Our Quiz Bowl team hosted a Quiz Bowl trivia that you could play against the Quiz Bowl team. People played music. Our director of technology did a cooking show, and she had several cameras. Being the director of technology, she had also prepped the bread in every stage ahead of time, so that we could see every step of the way, and that was really popular as well. Everyone learned a lot in that one. So there's just a lot of different fun opportunities that our teachers and staff members came up with. That was a big hit for the students, and so we tried to have a wide range of options. And, we didn't have to prompt anyone for that wide range of options, which was wonderful. Our teachers just came up with something that was really interesting to them. And so that kind of spread it out. So we did musings with Mean Girls. We did Mean Girls, the movie trivia. And it was a bunch of diehard fans. We did it on a Wednesday, so everyone wore pink. And just another way for people to get together and do something together in this online setting that really touched on their shared interests. And so this was a wonderful opportunity for our students, and we heard just a lot of great feedback from the students themselves, but also the parents. That, one mom sent me an email and she was like, my student cannot stop talking about this particular event, and that it was the highlight of their week because they got to see new people and do something, kind of silly, the event they picked, but also learn something at the same time. And so those are the different activities that we've been doing, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Karina, for sharing your expertise with us. And thank you, everyone, for your active participation through the questions pane. We really appreciate all of the questions and comments so far. As I mentioned earlier, we will be hosting more webinars on remote learning, and we are also hosting office hours to answer any further questions you might have. You can find information for both the webinar series and office hours on our webpage, found on screen and in chat. Also, a link to the recording of this webinar and a certificate of completion will be sent to you via email within 24 hours. Lastly, when you see a survey pop up when you close your webinar, please provide your feedback on the survey so we can continue to improve these webinars. Now, we will continue to answer questions through the questions pane of the GoToWebinar control panel until the top of the hour. Thank you so much, Karina, for that wonderful presentation. Lots of stuff in there. So would definitely love for folks on the call to just put in your questions if you have questions that we can have Karina answer for you. And while, I think I see one. The first one I see is these activities are great, but instructor teaches a 5-week courses and wants to know what types of activities they can do within that time frame.
Great. I think that a lot of these activities work within that 5-week time frame, depending on, what is the goal for the students. And so if it's creating, opportunities for informal connections, really structuring the class time to allow those breakout rooms. In addition to teaching at Stanford Online High School, I also teach at San Jose State, which transitioned online for this semester, and really put students in groups, in small groups, so they had a class buddy. I think that some of those in-class opportunities would really work well. And then some of the, fun enrichment activities would easily work within that 5-week time frame, looking at, maybe some of those bigger group settings, but fun games, trivia, Jeopardy, Mad Libs, but just trying to promote opportunities that the students can engage with each other, so they feel more connected to the class as a whole and more connected to you as the instructor. I think that, overwhelming there are, the research points to, if the students do feel that connection, they then put more effort towards the class, and have more resilience with that. And so I think that anything that can be done to improve those informal connections, and feeling of ties and social connections within the class really matter.
That's great. Thanks so much, Karina. Another question that I'm seeing is, how do you teach art classes like drawing and painting and sculpting, and other activities? How do you teach those online?
Yeah, so I am definitely not an expert on teaching any sort of those art classes. I do know that we do offer art classes at Stanford Online High School, and they utilize that on video component quite a bit within the class. With respect to outside of the classroom activities and enrichment activities, we have art shows, we have a digital museum. As we prepare for the end of year celebration and our online commencement, we're gathering pieces from the art club, from the literature club, and showcasing them in a digital museum for everyone to enjoy within our school website. So I think there's opportunities for those, for that showcasing, and I can definitely speak a little bit more about that, but I am not necessarily in the specific art classroom, and so I don't have a lot of tips and strategies for that particular aspect.
Great. That's super helpful. Another question that I actually have are, I love to hear about all the large group activities that you do, and how you engage with text, on the side in the chat. But what if you have those students who, even with those different kind of modes which you allow them to participate, are really just reluctant to, participate in those both large group and small group, settings? Are there any other strategies that you use to help those students, get, more connected?
Definitely. So we have a wonderful student support team at Stanford OHS that consists of counselors, academic advisors, and college counselors. And so we really utilize our student support team and our instructors to maybe highlight someone who is struggling to build those connections. So like I said, our events are not, enforced that you must attend. We do encourage everyone to attend. We want them to attend these events, but it's not a requirement, just given the global nature of the school, that there's no penalty for not attending. And so we really utilize our instructors to point out any kind of, flags that they might see in class. And then our counselors and advisors actually do spend time meeting with each student individually throughout the year. And they can really help facilitate that. And they might recommend a student reach out to us about a particular club, or they might highlight for us, hey, student life team, there's this wonderful student that's interested in robotics, but they aren't a member of the robotics team. Are you able to connect them? And so really utilizing those resources within the school and connecting with the other adults within the school has really helped us to bring students in. Another thing we do, particularly for new students, that's part of their onboarding process, is that I actually, with my team, call home. Every new student gets a call home in the first couple weeks, just to see how they're transitioning and answer any questions they might have. I know that, jumping into an online school at the start of the school year, jumping into any new school at the start of the school year is difficult. You don't know what you don't know yet, but so we wait until we can call them a couple weeks in. So that's one of the things that, our team does, but then we have a wonderful student support team that helps make sure that the students are, feeling that connection and have those ties within the community as well.
Thanks, Karina. Another comment or another question that I saw was, holding students responsible for attending. And I know that you had mentioned throughout your presentation that a lot of these activities are not, part of their grade, um, but maybe some of them are. And if they are, how do you hold them kind of responsible for attending, and how is that managed, for those activities that may be graded, or may be considered as part of a participation grade?
Yeah, so there are a variety of options for our students. And, as I mentioned, because we're a global school, we don't feel comfortable requiring, at 1 p.m. Pacific, everyone must be here. Our school day is 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Pacific to accommodate the wide range of time zones that we have. And so it's very difficult to pick a specific time. That being said, we have a variety of different activities that happen throughout the day that students can participate in. And so the way that they would find out about those activities is we have our own internal website for students and families. But in addition to that, we also have two weekly newsletters that go out on Friday and Monday. And just the structure of our school, the Friday newsletter has all of the activities that are happening that day with the time and the links, and that goes to parents and students. And so parents are really active partners within their students' education in that way that they can help encourage them to go to some of those activities. But in addition to that, we have our wellness program. And so we have, the students have more of a choose your own adventure, kind of like a stamp, sort of a passport book is how I've heard it used at other schools. And so there are these several events that are happening. Please pick a couple, and you need to hit X amount of events by this day, and that allows them to pick the ones that fit within their schedule, fit within their time zone, and then they're able to also pick the events that are most meaningful to them.
That's great. I know even just as an adult, having that choice is really meaningful so that you can select what you would most be willing to engage and be a part of. So that's great. There's also a lot of comments and questions, and this might not be directly in your level of expertise, seeing as how you work with an online school, but we have some elementary educators who don't have, that have students that don't have access to technology or maybe the internet. So I don't know if, Karina, you have any other activities or things that you guys do if that ever, is an issue, or are there other ways that you engage with students that do not involve technology per se?
Yeah, it is different working at an online school that has been an online school. So students applied to the school recognizing that they would need to have this technology to be a part of the school. So we see some of those challenges less, but we do have situations that students might be, as they are around the world, in different areas that might have, difficult internet access for a period of time. And our students do get pretty resourceful, streaming from their phones to jump in, or we utilize the phone if we need to help students connect with different teachers. We also record every class meeting, and this allows the students who had a conflict, whether it's internet access or not, to be able to watch that recording and keep up with the lesson. But it also helps if maybe you just want to see the class lesson another time. And so that also, is something that we do to really make sure that our students have that consistent access to what was discussed in class. But just being an online school, we have less of those technology issues than some schools that might have made that immediate, urgent transition to online education.
Got it. That's great. One other question, and this one's a little bit more specific, is, in the online school, can students just complete a couple of courses, or it's a full program of study that is run?
Yeah, so Stanford Online High School has 3 types of enrollment levels. There are full-time students that will graduate with a Stanford Online High School diploma. Then we have part-time and single course students. So because we offer a wide range of courses and have, university level courses and very high level courses that students might not be able to have at their brick and mortar school, we do see students that are single course that come for maybe one particular class, or part-time, meaning they come for 2 to 3 courses that interest them most. Stanford Online High School teaches, we call it core, but it functions very similar to a philosophy course, and that's a core part of our students' education program at Stanford Online High School. And so because those types of courses are not offered at other schools, we might see students come in just for those, or we have 13 different levels of math, and so we might have students come in just for those top level math courses or science courses. And so we do see a wide range of students and enrollments within the school.
Great. And I'm not seeing many more specific questions in the pane, so I just want to ask one more question, because I know this is an issue. I've experienced it, with my own child, in online school. How do you address, if, you are doing one of these activities, especially when it's a little bit more relaxed than students being, in a class, learning content? How do you manage like inappropriate comments, from students that may come about either in the chat or at some point during these fun activities? Is this an issue, and how would you address it, or how have you addressed it?
Yeah, so our school has a family handbook that the students and parents agree to at the start of the year. And being an online school, we really found it important that the family handbook focused on the positive, the correct behavior or the behavior that we expect of students, and focusing on a community integrity standard and a personal integrity standard. And so those are really important for us, because I think it's, close to impossible to list every terrible thing that someone could say or do in an online setting in some sort of family handbook or guide in that way. And so we really focus, we have a core list of things that are in the do not do list, but then focus on the positives. Here is what we expect all students to uphold and their behavior to model. And that really has made it great for us to really point to that with our students. Now, we are working with young people aged 12 through 18, and they often make some oopses, but we would address those in the same way that you would address them at a brick and mortar school. We have, that breakout room function is very similar if you want to jump in there and speak with a student immediately, or, some teachers prefer to private message the student, hey, that wasn't okay, let's, talk after the assembly or after the session about this further. And so I think that there's, a lot of those same skills that you would be using in that brick and mortar setting, but just translate pretty easily to the online setting using the various functions of the platform that you're using.
Great, super, super helpful information. You are a wealth of knowledge, Karina. I really appreciate your time today. All of the great activities that you shared really opens up a lot of new opportunities for I think folks on this call and those who will get to view this. So we really, really appreciate your time. We appreciate all of the attendees for all of your great questions and active participation. So with that, we will go ahead and end this session. Just as a reminder, the recording will be available. Please don't forget to also complete the survey. And we really appreciate everyone's time today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.